Now before I dive in, I just want to thank you lovely viewers, yeah, including you, for checking out this video, and you won't be disappointed. And at the end, I encourage you to share with all your Kingdom Hearts homies and sub to the channel for more various kinds of content. And that's all. So strap in, get your snacks, because you're gonna want to put on your thinking caps for this one, my boys. As we got 100% confirmed in the latest Melody of Memories trailer, and which was hinted at in the initial Melody of Memories announcement in the Kingdom Hearts 2020 video, Kairi has a hidden past lined with memories that speak absolute volumes about current events, explanations to previous ideas, and key knowledge for the future of Kingdom Hearts going into the new saga after closing out the Xehanort saga. Not only that, but as a child, Kairi was also one of Xehanort's subjects in his experiments in the castle at Radiant Garden when he was under the tutelage of Ansem the Wise along with his other apprentices that came before him. And he has an assignment for Kairi with the time-traveling arc we know and love by now. There's so much potential to come from the memories she has hidden away that can assist in the current events and unraveling the mystery behind the true mastermind and saving Sora. But don't think too far ahead now. This video isn't going to be solely focused around Sora or even the Master of Masters. So that begs the question, what then? I'll get to who in a second. So as we know, when Xehanort was apprenticed to Ansem the Wise, he was conducting many experiments of the heart and darkness of the heart. So before I get to the meat, I'll be bringing back to everyone's attention the depths of the secrets in the secret reports in the Kingdom Hearts series as a whole. What if I told you that in these, it's discussed that his experiments of the heart and darkness weren't even the primary catalyst for the downfall of himself, Ansem the Wise, and his apprentices, but another secret set of experiments into one's memories, both hidden and awake, and their attachment to the heart itself. What if I told you to consider the possibility that Subject X, Xehanort's favorite specimen, was also the main subject of these secret experiments? Not just any experiments, but these secret ones of digging into the memories, and Kairi was potentially also being experimented on by Xehanort at the same time. What if I proposed the idea that these experiments on Subject X and Kairi not only potentially tie each other together, but for sure tie into events that date all the way back to the Age of Fairy Tales and the Unicross era, and as far ahead as the surface and Melody of Memories, Kingdom Hearts going forward, and gives way to truth that explains why people like Sora, Lucio, Kairi, Xion, Naminé, Ventus, Subject X, and of course Xehanort are not only connected even more tightly, but gives more insight into why they are the way they are, why they appear the way they do, and the plans as well as developing actions they took in the series. What if I opened up the idea to you about these open and secret experiments of the heart and into attached memories, or what could have gave way to one of the biggest facets of Xehanort's plans to restart the Keyblade War with a clashing of 7 lights and 13 darknesses after his prior failure in Birth by Sleep, a plan that would become the true end goal and also act as a failsafe for the potential failure of the other paths that Xehanort had previously taken to reenact the war, as well as future ones. And as Yen Sid even said, there were many paths that Xehanort could have chosen to take, and with this video I will theorize about the other paths I feel he did take, even if they didn't need to feed into the final plan, but assisted with it, or ones he never got to return to, compiling together all the surface knowledge we have on Xehanort, his many journeys into the world, what he learned about the state of the world, as well as the gifts he possessed and could possess as a Keyblade wielder, his interactions with the Master of Masters and his possible plans against him that could aid the Warriors of Light, as well as Xehanort's many plans, pawns, hidden agendas, both helpful and hurtful to both sides of light and darkness, and how it all connects to Kingdom Hearts Unicross, the Xehanort saga, Melody of Memories, and beyond, and in turn connecting them to Xehanort, his plan for the Keyblade War, his main 2 subjects, Kairi and Subject X, what kind of experiments exactly he performed on the 2 of them, and how those main ideas all carry over to Melody of Memories, and gives us insight into what will happen from that game forward and who exactly is involved. So now, with the stage being set, I really hope y'all ain't run out of your snacks by now, because I'm going to be diving deep. Don't be afraid to pause and rewind if you didn't catch something, or you need to hear something back again, or you need to think, or whatever. I encourage discussion amongst all of you, as well as sharing of this video to any Kingdom Hearts people you know, whether they be big or small or popular or not. So for the record, I will be referring to the Xehanort that was the apprentice of Ansem the Wise as Xehanort. And without further delay, I lay the foundation more than enough for you all. So let us begin. So let's start with Xehanort Xehanort's ambition. As we first got introduced to him in a flashback in Kingdom Hearts 2 at Hollow Bastion, he conducted many experiments of the heart, the main things being 4 categories of it. In Kingdom Hearts 1 and some Report 2, his research entailed extracting the darkness from a person's heart, cultivating darkness in a pure heart, and both suppressing and amplifying the darkness within a heart. This was because, as said in Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Report 3, Xehanort said that after his initial experiments on me, Ansem the Wise ceased his research into the heart. His hands stayed by some fear I cannot fathom. And later, the last thing he carried on from the start of Ansem the Wise's experiments was the practice of finding the path to memories by traversing and probing the hearts of people. And also, this report was the report that confirms he was working on Subject X for all of these 4 categories of these experiments, because Subject X's heart was exceptionally strong. And as he said in Kingdom Hearts 1 Secret Report number 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Report number 4, he went through so many different subjects, but they all succumbed to the collapse of their heart as well as mental shutdown, even those with strong hearts. But Subject X was different, not only because her heart was even more exceptionally strong, but he also says this new subject is just like me, devoid of memories. She is the perfect sample upon which to continue my master's war. Now, Xehanort's research gave him further insight into the transfer and cultivation of one's darkness onto another heart, the effect that contact between hearts have on one's memories, and there's 2 big factors hidden here. We know that after his fight with Aqua, he had no memories, even as he stated in Report 3 from Kingdom Hearts 3. While the first important thing to note is that this type of experiment that he wishes to further develop with Subject X were what allowed his own memories to be able to resurface in the first place. She too could benefit from it. By traversing the heart, we have a direct path into memory. I myself have begun to reclaim my lost past thanks to these very experiments. End quote. With this, he refers to himself as still devoid of memories, but he has begun to regain his memories. So this technique of experimentation has evidence of being successful. Remember that. So the second important thing to notice is Kingdom Hearts 3 Reports 3 and 4 are only 2 documents, but they're segmented, meaning that the entirety of each aren't written at the same time. Based on what he discusses and how he talks, time is progressing as these passages of each continue. So not only is there more time for more of his memories to come back, but that truly is a good amount of time to have been working on Subject X, who we all pretty much know as now as Scold. If he was successful to have her memories to come back, do you know how huge that would have been to impact the series? Now, Report 4 ends with Subject X having disappeared not long after Ansem the Wise caught wind of these experiments, but at the beginning of 4, he says something that sounds strangely familiar to something we may have seen him take action towards in the Melody of Memories trailer. Subject's memories have not returned, and our conversations remain less than lucid. What fragments can be gleaned evoke a bygone world like one out of fairy tales. As improbable as it seems, the question may not be where she has come from, but when. If she truly has crossed through time, the prospect of probing her heart is all the more compelling. So right here, Xehanort was verbally stating he has caught wind of Scold being from a different era of time completely, the Age of Fairy Tales, which, since Xehanort is still getting his memories back, doesn't remember his ties to previous eras of Keyblade wielders or what the Age of Fairy Tales actually is completely, but he knows that it's real and she comes from it. And based on both Melody and Memories trailer, he also has obtained a relic from that era, the Ark, which can actually time travel. And this brings me back to what I hinted at before about what if Kairi was one of Xehanort's subject at the same time as Subject X was? What if these experiments on both these subjects bore so much fruit to many different realizations and accomplishments for Xehanort, but also set in motion for having impacted the likes of primarily Subject X, aka Scold, Kairi, and Xion, but also others like Sora, Ventus, Roxas, and Zigbar/Luciu. But even more so, what if this was how Xehanort first discovered the fact that a single heart can be split and put into several different individuals without impact on the user, but the user's influence impacting the receivers? Now remember, Xehanort's experiments of the hearts did vary far and wide, so these are very possible. And for those of you that are still here and are enjoying so far, or at least intrigued, hit the subscribe button because I'm still going. Hope y'all got at least maybe I'll give you a chance to refill your snacks. I'll wait. Ready now? Alright, let's get it then. Now, I did drop 2 bigger aspects of my theory on you, but there's another part connected to it, and in order to fully explain the theories, I gotta review and revitalize certain aspects of Xehanort's life throughout the Xehanort saga and bring to light new details that are very important for this end goal of this video. We all know that Xehanort did awful things. Although his intentions were debatably good, he wanted to tear down the tyranny of light that he felt was in the world by restoring balance, by increasing darkness's presence, which which still caused harm, misfortune, suffering, and death upon many, even if all he truly wanted was to create balance. But there are 3 primary topics and processes that I will need to discuss. Process 1. Hearts of light versus darkness and stealing a vessel. In Birth by Sleep in Xehanort Report 6, he describes his knowledge on the 3 families of wielders, light, dark, and heart, that the Keyblade of Heart was only able to be forged by the gathering of 7 pure lights and could lead to Kingdom Hearts. In Xehanort Report 7, he talks about how he uncovered the Keyblade's ultimate mystery. Outside of the previously mentioned families of wielders, there was the Keyblade, that it is only forged when a heart of pure light and pure darkness intersect. This Keyblade was the true counterpart to the real Kingdom Hearts, the one that was the union between all worlds' hearts. He wanted to use this, reuniting all the worlds, then reignite the Keyblade War. This was his first task for restarting the war. With the uniting and clashing of Ventus and Vanitas, it worked. The Keyblade was forged. All of these different occurrences are just more and more info and data for giving Xehanort knowledge on about how hearts work. And even more so, originally, old Xehanort mentions in Xehanort Report 8 how his body is old, and instead of entrusting things to an apprentice, he wanted to see things for himself so he would live. And so he robbed Terra of his body in order to see how things play out. But after being defeated by Lingering Will, caught in Vanitas' explosion, and finally his duel with Aqua, he had memory loss. This caused a half success and half failure. Remember, he may have lost his memory, but it was only temporary, but he still got his new lease on life just like he wanted. He's under the tutelage of a genius researcher and the capability of giving his memory back. He still landed himself in the perfect place to continue his ambitions as strongly as possible. Don't forget, the biggest things to note is throughout all his experiences is the things he learned in order to see how much he can push the boundaries. Process 2, the Keyblade of Heart, his chosen princess, and the failsafe. During his time working on his experiments of the heart, he found a test subject that was a potential princess. I have chosen a girl. I don't know if she holds the princess's power, but I will find out. Later confirmed to definitely be a princess of Radiant Garden, Kairi, that could serve to work on his experiments. The timeline for all this adds up because Kairi at the point of his experiments is still in Radiant Garden, not Destiny Islands, and Xehanort exists, so this has to take place significantly long after the end of Birth by Sleep, but also not long before Kingdom Hearts 1. Assuming Scold and Kairi were being experimented on simultaneously, he has his memories of being Xehanort back already. So as we know, as per the events of Kingdom Hearts 1, the Keyblade of Heart was formed with the 7 princesses of Heart. Although knowing the only thing that could bring about Kingdom Hearts was the Keyblade, this Keyblade of Heart was still something he could use to his advantage. They could also be used as the 7 Hearts of Light in order to go with the 13 Darknesses Xemnas was preparing, and Sora put an end to Ansem. But remember, the organization's true goal, they all just wanted to get hearts. Doesn't it seem more like Xehanort was biding time? Because although Xemnas was at the head, he never really disclosed much of his ideas or plans with anyone else, which is why Syx and Xigbar and Zexion were always so suspicious of him. Sora stopping him never mattered, because as long as he had his darknesses, as long as there were lights to fight him, as long as he's had his research about time travel and his experiments into the heart, he was always able to come back stronger. But was his goal really to counteract the Warriors of Light and just to bring balance, or was it to truly reset the world to stop whatever scheme the Master of Masters was planning? Because remember, they did know each other. What point is it to reveal about him in his death scene if nobody else but him knew of the Master of Masters? Not even knowing his name or who he truly is, how could he give them any lead? And before the final climax of this video is one last process. Process 3, Keyblade wielders and the gift of extracting hearts. In Xehanort Report 9, he mentions how Keyblade wielders do indeed hold the ability to extract hearts, which as we know can be specifically their own or that of another. Something huge to keep in mind is many things can be done with the heart by a Keyblade wielder extracting the heart. Shoving the key into the body doesn't always do the technique known as releasing the heart and create a heartless and a nobody. There are techniques that differentiate them, even though they look similar. Example 1. At the end of Terra's story in Birth by Sleep, Xehanort shoved his Keyblade into his heart in order to extract it, except he did this so his heart could be put inside Terra's body, creating no heartless or nobody. His other selves, Ansem Seeker of Darkness and Xemnas, were only created later on. This we can tell because Xemnas and Ansem's appearances look like Xehanort rather than old man Xehanort. Example 2. Xehanort was able to split his heart among many vessels in order to fill each person with his own heart. But remember, this act didn't cause Xemnas and Ansem to be made. The Xemnas and Ansem seen in Kingdom Hearts 3 and Dream Drop Distance were from different times, but they weren't the real them. They were replica vessels filled with the hearts of Xemnas and Ansem from a different time, as proved by Vexen in Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Report 8 when he says, "Several others who served Xemnas in the old organization have followed the same course as mine, electing to abandon the newly restored humanity and rejoin the real organization as nobodies, but not Xemnas. Xemnas cannot exist in the present because there is already a Xehanort here, the old man in charge. The old man's humanity prevents his heartless and nobody, others vanquished in the past, and his younger self from being denizens of this time. To circumvent this, Xehanort is using the prototype replicas I created in the past as containers, plugging his other selves' hearts from the time they existed. Xehanort ordered me to refine the prototypes to make them closer still to the real thing. If these abilities Keyblade wielders had to extract hearts were all one power, Xehanort would not still have his humanity, as Vexen stated. This means the act of creating a heartless and a nobody by releasing the heart and the ability to split a heart among other bodies and to just take your own heart and to put it into a different body completely are three completely different powers. Being able to separately utilize each one, although the act may look the same, the technique is not. All y'all staying with me so far, thank you, because you're about to get the meatiest and juiciest part. Put hashtag Xion is precious somewhere in your comment, in the comments below, just so I know who's really about that theorist knowledge, you know? But this leads us to the final segment, compiling all the knowledge of what Xehanort gained throughout his life, his failed attempts to reenact the Keyblade War, his failures gave him insight to truly reenact it, but even more so, the many gifts that Xehanort learned of, giving control over the heart that Keyblade wielders have, and of course, the knowledge of memories to be gained from the heart as well as effects darkness has on one's heart. This is how I theorize how Melody of Memories ties into Kingdom Hearts past, improving upon it, as well as how it can heavily impact the future of everything in Kingdom Hearts from characters to plot alike. This leads us to Xehanort's accidental findings, his secret failsafe potential, Kairi's Melody of Memories, and the union cross between eras. In Ansem Report 11 from Kingdom Hearts 1, Ansem mentions how in order to lock the hearts of each world, a Keyblade is required. So I feel it's safe to assume the opposite is also capable as well, you know? And to reinstate, in Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Report 3 and 4, Xehanort was the one that carried out experiments on Subject X, and proven by the Melody of Memories trailer, he also had experiments carried out with Kairi. Now what if Xehanort's experiments on those two were connected and not separate? What if Xehanort theorized that since Scold was never getting her full memory back on her own, that if her heart, which he admits the heart leads to a direct path of memories, were to be put inside another body, that the hidden memories would be able to resurface, similar to how even without his old man original body, he was able to restore his own memories based on these experiments prior to testing on Subject X, as he admits to in Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Report 3. And I'm thinking that new vessel for Subject X, aka Scold, could have been Kairi. But in Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Report 1 and 2, we do have discussion from Subject X's point of view, from her time in the castle, as well as when she's broken out by a man with an eye patch, as well as many years having passed by from that point. But she's still kind of in a daze. But this doesn't mean that it's impossible for Kairi to have been a vessel for Scold's heart, as long as it wasn't the entirety of her heart. I'll come back to that in a little bit. So based on Xehanort's initial hypothesis, if the vessel for Subject X's heart, aka Kairi, did get the memories to resurface, he would want to use the arc to connect to those resurfaced memories and find a way to interact with the Age of Fairy Tales, aka the era where Scold comes from, in some way to influence the outcome of the future. Because we know Xehanort was affiliated with the Master of Masters, and who knows how many more there were after that conversation. All we know is that old man Xehanort said he never found out who he was. He never said, "I never saw him again." And the reason I'm theorizing this is because, as I said before, in Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Report number 4, Xehanort admits that he was able to get fragments of Skull's memory to surface, and it evoked a bygone world like one out of fairy tales. And he quickly came to the conclusion that question may not be where she has come from, but when, and that if she truly has crossed through time, the prospect of probing her heart is all the more compelling, meaning that he did find a connection from a fragment of Skull's memory. But what if he needed more than that? As long as he knew of the arc, which of course he did because it was in the castle and in the Melody of Memories trailer, he knew that he could make contact with that age somehow with any risk to his own self at this point. In a past theory, I mentioned how I'm confident that Radiant Garden and Hollow Bastion is just a present day version of Skyla at Kylam, which was also originally Daybreak Town, as we saw in Kingdom Hearts 3's battle with Xehanort. Why else would Xehanort be so fond of it, and why would the designs of the world be also incredibly similar? And as per the idea of making contact with the heart of each world using the Keyblade, what if as a failsafe, if he couldn't get Kairi to successfully travel back, he could use the Keyblade to transform the world back to Daybreak Town. And as we know, older Keyblade wielders of the past passed down the power to transform worlds with each generation, just like how Ericus did with Aqua. And my further inspiration for this came from the fact that in the original Melody of Memories trailer and the Kingdom Hearts 2020 trailer, Xehanort actually had sub-dialogue. In that dialogue, he said this: "However, if you arrive in a world that's neither light nor darkness, but somewhere on the other side, your task will be far from easy." The main world we know like that is a world and not a realm, Daybreak Town. It was the hub for all Keyblade wielders in the Age of Fairy Tail and the world for all people. It sat between light and darkness. Even just think of the name, Daybreak, the moment of time between the day and the night. But unfortunately, this was an experiment that never got completed in the way he desired because he lost Gold. Kingdom Hearts 3 Secret Report 4 ends where Xehanort is upset that Ansem the Wise found out about the experiments he was carrying out and demanded the research be destroyed, as well as having ordered the release of his subjects, and that Subject X was just gone. But on top of all this, there's another piece here that connects to another that I want to make clear about what connects these four individuals. As said before, theorizing that Xehanort split Gold's heart and placed a piece of it inside Kairi in order to surface her forgotten, buried away memories in order to connect with the Age of Fairy Tales. What if this was when he first found out that it's even possible to split a heart among multiple vessels and still have the original to be alive and well? If that's the case, then this was where he was able to begin the experiments of recreating the Keyblade in the last way he knew: 7 hearts of light and 13 darknesses. Those darknesses potentially being able to be all himself that he could depend on to never waver. Xemnas was putting up a facade the whole time. He told them the truth that they were all trying to get hearts, but Kingdom Hearts was never going to be it. But why should I jump to the conclusion that that is the catalyst? I say so because I left this out earlier. At the end of Secret Report number 4 from Kingdom Hearts 3, after he lost Gold, he says, "I will not be deterred. I will take her place as the first subject in the grand experiment to come." He was now willing to use his own body to be the test dummy to see if he was able to carry out the action of splitting a heart among many and taking action with it. His forming of the organization was now underway. And we know Gold is still important because she was mentioned numerous times, alluded to in Kingdom Hearts 3. Ansem asked Ansem the Wise about where he put the girl. Axel and Sykes have a scene where they discuss the girl they used to meet in the castle. And in the Secret Reports and Sykes' entries, he mentioned how they would always meet this girl in the castle, sneak inside and talk to her, but they could never see her face. And then one day, she was just gone. Although this may lead his original task at a stalemate, because not only had he lost Gold, but in Ansem Report 11, he says he set the girl, which was the princess he had chosen, free, meaning that with Gold being gone, that path with Gold specifically was gone forever. And on the other side of the equation, Kairi finally being free among Radiant Garden ends up on Destiny Islands, but that means she's still living out all this time with a piece of Gold's heart inside her, based on my theories. My point is, how did that piece of Gold's heart affect Kairi? And I think the answer, drum roll please, is Xion. As we know, even if there are multiple hearts present in one body, the initial host is the one in control of the body, but it's influenced by the others subconsciously, even when they're not trying to take the helm completely, unlike in Xehanort's case where Terra and Xehanort were constantly wrestling for dominance. And as every Kingdom Hearts fan knows, when Xehanort would split his heart among the different vessels and bodies, they would gain a specific defining trait, and that was his yellow eye. And although Kairi never got a trait, I do believe that the reason Xion has black hair at all is because of the piece of Gold's heart inside Kairi, that influence affecting Xion. And you guys realize how rare it is to have black hair at all as an important character in the Kingdom Hearts series? We got yellows and blues and browns and blondes and pinks and all of that, but black hair? Rare. Now hear me out. I know Xion is a replica that was given form based on those around her, primarily being influenced by Roxas, but also had different appearances based on the view of her. For Sykes, she was the hooded figure. For Roxas and Axel, she was the black-haired Kairi lookalike, although Axel also originally saw her as the hooded faceless figure as well, so he saw her as multiple things, maybe even more that we don't know of. And Xigbar saw her as Ventus. You might wonder how she can possibly look like Gold when Sora never even met Gold, let alone interacted with her. But remember, based on this theory so far, Kairi had a literal heart-to-heart connection with Gold. And remember, in Kingdom Hearts 1, at the scene of Destiny Island's destruction, Kairi's heart passed into Sora when she phased through him, meaning from then until he took Kairi's heart from his body, not only Kairi's, but that piece of Gold's Ventus's heart was inside him as well. This all leads me to the conclusion that at the creation of Roxas, Sora's memories of Kairi weren't the only thing hidden in him, but traces of Skull's heart and memories as well, except much less apparent because of the disparity in heart amount. And thus, as Roxas hung around her, he poured into the vessel number I, which eventually became who we know and love as Xion. Her black hair was always kind of a mystery to me until this came to me, and I feel this is a pretty solid train of thought to be theorizing on. And if you guys are still a little thinking that's far-fetched, then let's think about the reverse. Why did Xigbar see Ventus in Xion? He may have known Ventus, but his heart had no such connection with him, so why? It's because it's just like I said, the reverse happened. Like how faint traces of Skull's heart and memories were connected to Sora at the time where Kairi's heart existing in his body, thus in turn affected the look of Xion, the black-haired Kairi lookalike. The reverse of traces of Ventus's heart and memories connected with Kairi's heart and memories. So not only does Roxas's image mirror Ventus because of his connection to Sora's heart which held Ventus, but traces of Ventus also ended up in Xion as well, thus making her appearance to Xigbar as Ventus. Do you guys at least see what I'm getting at here? I think I explained it pretty well. Hit the like button if you think that's a pretty solid train of thought. But tying this all in with Melody of Memories, this could mean everything. This would mean that Kairi could gain all the memories of Skull as per the events of Union Cross before and after she was a Union leader, giving her knowledge of the Master Masters, Lushu, the Foretellers, the events of the Keyblade War, how they avoided it, the Data Worlds, the knowledge she gained in Skull's time as a Union leader, and most of all, the events transpired that caused the Union leaders to be forced to jump to the future across world lines and what caused the memory loss, or rather, who forced those things to happen. With this powerful of a connection, Kairi can quickly become one of the most powerful, knowledgeable, and useful for that knowledge, which I think will heavily influence what it takes to save Sora, foiling the plans of the Master Masters, gaining knowledge of powerful Keyblade wielders like the Union leaders, and most of all, their chances at defeating the darkness and setting things right once again. And if it isn't based on Kairi's doing only, maybe Xehanort also placed that piece of Skull inside Kairi as a failsafe in case his own plan to reset the world failed. So maybe Xehanort placed the key to saving the future, and any and all of these things can change everything on from Melody of Memories forward. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Jesus Christ, I think that was very, very good. I worked hard on this and I want to thank you all guys for sticking to the end. Like I said before, if you stuck all the way through, hashtag Xion is precious somewhere in your comment at all. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel for more theories like this in general and just many different types of content, stream highlights, original series, things like that. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I worked very hard on this, and yeah, all you Kingdom Hearts fiends, don't forget to share the video with any and all Kingdom Hearts people, whether they be big popular Kingdom Hearts YouTubers and theorists, or just your friends and Kingdom Hearts fans, stuff like that. Just share the video everywhere possible. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I do this not just for my enjoyment, but for you guys to have something to enjoy with as well. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you all, and see you in the next one. Peace out, man.